As far as data security goes, I think people have a lot of misconceptions about reuse and recycling of hard drives. People seem to think that sending something out to get it smelted is the safest way to deal with their data, but of course it's going to travel thousands and thousands of kilometers. Sometimes, even if it travels 100, it's still going through a chain of custody. It's still going from hand to hand and through transport, through dropping off at depots, all that stuff. So people really should be concerned about what happens to their data. They should take care of it themselves if they can. There's free software out there that works on any operating system that you can download and wipe your own data. We've got links to some of that stuff on our website.
The end of the road for this computer is the fun with Dismantle Station, and Ifni, you're going to walk me through the final stages where we actually get the last pieces off.
Yes. So what we need to do is we need to pop this puppy open and get the motherboard. So what we need to do is we need to remove it from this back plating, and we're just going to isolate the circuit board itself. So I've got a screwdriver for you. There's a lot of screws in here. There's probably about 8 to 10. And if you remove all the screws you can see and it still doesn't come loose, that means there's more screws.
A lot of this stuff is actually going to be toxic waste. This is the essence of what e-waste is.
Yes.
Is this motherboard. There's all sorts of lead. There's all sorts of metal all built in here. But it's inert at this point here. But it's in the final stages that it's really dangerous.
If it was exposed to water, ultraviolet like sunlight, acid, heat, flame, that would be releasing a lot of these components and materials that are not good for human beings and other life forms. But as it stands right now, we're doing mechanical dismantling here. That's why we're wearing gloves, just because you can scratch yourself on these little solder bits. Plus it's lead and it does get absorbed through your skin, so that's why it's a good thing to wear gloves. Also, there is a lot of valuable metal on this board as well.
Yeah, this is really where the gold is as far as the recycling process goes,
there's a lot of platinum even, and a lot of tantalum. And tantalum is something that right now the hotbed for material extraction for tantalum is actually in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where there's a lot of civil war and there's a lot of problems with the mines. They're very unsafe. A lot of child labor, soldiers taking them over and shooting people. Not good. So the idea is that we should send this to a facility where they can actually reclaim that tantalum so that we don't have to extract more out of the ground. Right? So we're keeping it in circulation. Same with the platinum, and that's why all the bad guys are really interested in circuit board. We're going to send it to the good guys, and they're actually going to they have some of the most state-of-the-art smelters in the world. They're quite new. They're under 10 years old, and they're going to do some very tailored recycling to get those materials off. But we can't do that yet because we have to remove some things. So
the RAM's already gone.
The RAM's already gone, so that's great, and that's also going to go to the good guys. RAM, if you send it to, say, a place like China, they have kind of a very medieval dismantling is fun. They have a very medieval recycling process where they have big vats of essentially 70% hydrochloric acid, and they're going to throw the stuff in, swish it around, pitch the acid out when they're done, and they get tiny little bits of gold. But we're not participating in that, so that's good.
Okay, it's all being done by heat.
It's all been done, yeah, and the processor as well. We're going to pull this off, so I want you to get the processor off.
I've been looking forward to this all day.
I bet.
Getting down to the meat and potatoes. Give me the persuader.
Okay.
Give me the persuader.
Doctor. There we go. There we go. Done like a pro.
Well, you know, I've taken the odd thing apart in my life.
Random things?
Well, you know, the nice thing about this process is when you take things apart and you're a dad, you normally have to put them back together again. But I'm not burdened with that responsibility in this particular exercise.
Now you can even just leave this, the commodities market being what it is, we're not going to bother selling the aluminum at this juncture. A year ago we were, but right now we don't need to. We're just going to send it out for smelting for free. And then you're going to want the processor, because the processor has a lot of electroplated gold. Now, you know how to get it out?
No.
This little lever goes down to the side and then back.
Side.
Oh, look at that.
And back.
You're on it. And then wait.
Oh.
Before you do that, you can just turn it over and it falls right out. So if you turn that over, see all those little pins? Fantastic. That's where the money is. And by itself, you're not going to take that to a jeweler and pawn it. But when you get a whole bunch that you throw around, right? Then when you sell it by the pound, that's where we're able to recover some of our costs.
So all the gold.
All that gold in there.
Battery has to come out,
Battery has to come out. And we have the little baby persuader for that. So there's a little tab in there. See it? And just pop it. Push that in. And it'll just pop out.
Oh.
Yep, just push. There you go. Get in there.
I'm not. Oh.
There you go.
So.
Ding. And then that is going to go into this the battery bucket.
Got it.
Those are really good for bicycle turtle lights.
Oh, okay.
Because all they do is really power the clock on the board, so they're eminently reusable. And now this motherboard, believe it or not, is clean. We don't have to take anything else off of it. We're going to put it in the motherboard Gaylord. It's a really big carton, and it's called the Gaylord.
Okay.
It's right over there.
Okay, just toss stuff here?
Yep.
And that's it. And now the case will go over and go into the recycling area for the cases, and the screws all gathered.
We're going to put the screws into here. Into our little bucket.
Okay.
And then we're going to put this other thing inside, one screw per side, and it's ready to be wrapped up with a whole bunch of its brothers and sisters, and it's going to go out and get smelted in BC.
Good. So now we have completely dismantled this one. What we're going to take a look at next is what happens to the computers that survive.
Free Geek is a bit unconventional in the way that we organize ourselves. We're non-hierarchical, so we don't have a president or a CEO. We are consensus-based, so we all make decisions together. We don't even do voting. We actually use a system where everybody has to agree to a course of action before we take it. And this place is really run by the community. We have, as I mentioned, we have almost 1,000 volunteers, and we have only 5 full-time staff people. So it really is volunteer-driven. We really depend on our volunteers who get involved to be able to do the ethical recycling that we do, to be able to separate materials, to be able to test all the equipment that comes in. And that type of recycling and reuse wouldn't be feasible without the community kind of pitching in and getting involved.
The main floor at Free Geek is all about taking apart the systems and sorting them. Up here, it's all about finding the usable bits and reassembling and finally having finished computers. So here we have a card sorting area. Everything from networking cards to modem cards to video cards to USB cards, Ethernet cards, all being sorted here so that they can be used in the systems that need them down the line. Over here, power supplies. Power supplies for notebooks and other devices, as well as the power supplies for the computers themselves are all tested and make sure they're up to snuff. Then they've got the notebook rebuilding area where they take notebooks that are donated and they install operating systems, make sure they're all running so that they can, again, be repurposed. And back here, my favorite area is the hard drive and RAM area. We've got my buddy Kevin going away. How you doing, Kevin?
Good.
Kevin's sanitizing and preparing all of the different hard drives. And how many do you do a day? A lot. Look at the stack that Kevin has waiting for him to sanitize and get ready to go into systems. Just tons of hard drives, all here being tested and cleaned. And over here, the RAM, where they take all of the RAM, test it, make sure that it's going to work fine in the systems. And then finally, we have the assembly area over here, where they take all of the different computers that passed muster downstairs, the ones that they know are going to be fine and they want to get back out into this system. They rebuild them here. They add any video cards that are needed, any audio cards, any memory, any hard drives that they're missing, making sure they all meet minimum standards and they're ready to be a useful computer back in society. Wrapping up our visit to Free Geek here in their computer store, where they are selling the systems that we saw being built upstairs. Fully functional systems complete with keyboard, mouse, and monitor for the price of $20 a unit. That is a spectacular deal. They also have a museum here as well with all sorts of old computers. And I see up there a bit of a walk down memory lane for me. I see a 128K Mac and I see a Mac SE30, one of my favorite all-time computers. I used to sell those back in 1987 for, are you ready for it? $5,200 a unit. Now that is a computer that's worth recycling. Now, if you've determined that your computer at home needs to be recycled, try and find a responsible recycler in order to send it to. But before you send it out at all, see if you can't repurpose or recycle it within your own circle. Make sure that you don't have friends or kids, a school, or a church in your neighborhood that might be able to take advantage of the computer. Also consider really speeding up that computer by installing a version of Ubuntu, a Linux operating system that makes even slower computers run very fast by today's standards. This is ways that we can get a lot more out of existing technology. If you're still determined that you don't want it, then try and find somebody really responsible who will take the technology off your hands and properly recycle it. Check with your local municipality for good ideas in that area.